As the NFL draft draws closer, ESPN's Mel Kiper gives us a new reason why the Atlanta Falcons should draft a pass rusher with the 16th pick. We'll talk about it next on AJC Falcons News Now.
This is AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Here are your hosts, Brandon Adams and former Atlanta Falcon Chuck Smith.
I feel like maybe I need to put my hoodie in the dryer. I feel like it's looking a little bit big on me. You think so?
You're losing weight.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that.
You cutting out the carbs?
A little bit. Trying to.
Okay.
Trying to.
Cutting down the calories?
Trying to. I'm like everybody else. I'm trying to get ready for the NFL Combine. Now, I'm not going to be participating in it, but I'm trying to get in shape like everybody else this time of year. Obviously, the draft's on our mind. We're getting ready to talk to you about all that here over the course of the next 60 minutes on AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Chuck, hope you're having a good week. I'm good to hear that. I know you've been busy. We're going to see some of you in action before we're done here today. You've had a busy time here as of late.
Yeah, last 6 weeks been preparing college athletes for the NFL Combine and Pro Day and subsequently the NFL Draft. It's a time where young men are out for the first time. Mm-hmm. Most of these kids that are out, they're college, draft eligible. So they've never really not lived at home or lived in a dorm for the most part, or an apartment on their own. So they're all here for 7 weeks. They're running, they're jumping, they're working on nutrition, they're working on bench press, all the different things that make up what they're looking for in the evaluation at the NFL Combine.
And of course, Falcons getting ready for that draft as well. We'll talk about that a lot. Let me start with this. Mel Kiper, ESPN NFL draft analyst. Our buddy D. Orlando Ledbetter from the AJC has caught up with him over the course of the last week. And Kiper, once again, you can read the story for yourself at AJC.com, and if you're an AJC subscriber, you get to read all of that content. But Kiper, on the subject of the Falcons, kind of doubling down on the notion that they're going to draft A.J. Epinesa with that number 1 pick, or at least the Falcons' first pick, it's number 16 overall. And in Kiper's reasoning to D-Led for why the Falcons will do what they do, he kind of offers a little bit different assessment of Epinesa than we've seen other places. I thought that might be worth us starting with here today. Let me show you the quote from Kiper to D-Led about the Falcons. He says, "I have them taking a pass rusher in A.J. Epinesa. He's got sack production over the last 2 years. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. Rarely does Kirk Ferentz get those kinds of players. He develops great players, but they don't usually come in as an elite recruit the way that Epinesa was. But Epinesa came in with that high grade, and he performed." That's Mel Kiper for ESPN. Now, there's a couple of things that Kiper says there that I think are important. The fact that Epinesa has shown some productivity over the course of multiple seasons. Pass rush is one of those things where not everybody goes hard on every single play. The fact that Epinesa has gone hard on multiple years, you kind of take that as a good sign. But how about the idea that, I've kind of mocked Epinesa before of being an Iowa athlete. I don't like the Iowa athlete typically. That's not as athletic a player as you see at some of the other programs. And yet Kiper says, no, don't forget, Epinesa came in as a 5-star guy. This was, top 100 recruit nationally, really top 30, top 40 recruit nationally going back to the class of 2017. Should we consider Epinesa more because he had the elite athletic credentials even before he got to Iowa?
Well, I like me some Mel Kiper. Years ago, he said there was a young guy at Athens, Georgia that was going to go second round.
Really?
I didn't believe it. I thought I was a first rounder. It was a young Chuck Smith, speaking the third person.
No worries, yeah.
But, Mel Kiper hit that one with a home run, but let me just say this. For Mel Kiper to come out and say there's any you validating anybody because they're a 5-star, you're absolutely looking at you're basically barking up the wrong tree. And the reason I say that, most of them, look at J.J. Watts, they're 2 stars, but so that has nothing to do with it. I know a lot of 5 stars we can all name, and you especially, guys that are 5 stars that you'll say, like, whatever happened to them? But to me, again, this pass rush out of Iowa, he has good upfield movement. Number one, he's kind of robotic. He's more of a power rusher in the conference. I watched him run around a gang of stiffs. Will he be a good NFL player? Is he worth the first-round pick? Yes. But from my standpoint with Mel Kiper, I want an edge burner. I want the sizzle off the corner. I want nuclear blast coming off the butt of offensive tackles. I don't want a guy that's inside out.
Fair enough.
That has just enough speed to play on third downs, and then these really should be on the inside. I respect Mel Kiper. But to me, him being a 5-star, give me a break, Mel.
Yeah, so as far as how that works with Epinesa, Kiper in the pages of AJC.com goes on to say they could move him inside, take him inside for situations and get him over the center and guard. He gives you great versatility and great effort.
What did you just say, center? Mel Kiper lost his mind. How old is Mel? I'm 50.
I don't know. That hair's
So,
looking
look,
a little gray on ESPN these days.
Look, if I'm 50 years old, and Mel Kiper predicted in 1990, anyway, I ain't going to be beating up on Mel. But again, nose guard, I'm already hating they're going to be a D tackle. Now you got him, man, come on.
I guess here's all I'm going to say. And I guess Kiper's words are maybe more meant for me than they are for you because, I mean, I'm the one that's been on the show saying, I don't like the Iowa athlete. I'm the one on the show that says I've seen the Hawkeyes play on television and they're slow and they're plodding and they're not athletic. You're not seeing that. Even if you want to keep the SEC out of it for a second, the caliber of athlete I see at Iowa is not the same thing I see at Penn State. It's not the same thing I see at Ohio State. It's not what I see at Michigan, maybe even Wisconsin even. I see better caliber of athlete at other Big Ten programs. I've kind of disqualified Epinesa on spec because of that. But maybe Kiper's words work on me to say, this was the kind of recruit you don't typically see Hawkeyes coach Kirk Ferentz getting very much. So you're going to evaluate players a little bit different than I am. I'm, for the most part, going to disqualify some people sight unseen. And, the Hawkeye pass rusher doesn't exactly just...
Yeah, it's your SEC love.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's love. It's tight.
But I just gave a bunch of credit to some other Big Ten teams that are more athletic than that.
Well, it was kind of like a backhand credit. It's like, I think you guys are great. I think you're great, but I'm really smacking the crap out of you. Again, J.J. Watt went to Wisconsin, and where did he go first? He walked on. Was he at Eastern Michigan? I don't know somewhere. But all I know is this. I just look at, this is my big thing, and you're going to hear it all the way to the draft. I need a speed burner. Or I'm going out and getting a guy like Robert Quinn, the edge rusher, former Dallas Cowboy, guys on the market. But, now I will say this, though. I'm an SEC guy and an ACC guy, right? Because a lot of those teams are in our region, obviously. But I don't not say a player can't play at a certain level because of where they go. I'll just say this. From what I've seen, the player's solid, but the competition is terrible. Let's go look at all the guys he played against to see where their draft grades are.
Yeah.
Why don't somebody online do that? Go look at everybody, right?
Good point.
Get a look at everybody in the Big Ten, and let's see where the offensive tackles he went against grades are. Them guys with some big stiffs now. The player played hard, but the guys were some stiffs. So
the other thing that Kiper mentions here is the other name we talk about all the time. That's Clavon Chasen. He says either Epinesa or Clavon Chasen from LSU would be possibilities there for Atlanta with them needing that pass rusher. So it's interesting that even though I've made the case for, hey, draft the best running back, we're going to see in our comment section other fans mention other potential possibilities for Atlanta. Kiper is not moving off the spot of biggest need being pass rush. You got to go out there and do that. So if I give you the choice, you want if it's going to be pass rusher and it's Clavon Chasen from LSU or AJ Epinesa from Iowa, which one are you taking?
Chasen.
Yeah,
right off the bat.
He's a better athlete.
And he's
a better athlete.
And he's what? He's an edge guy. He has 3-4 outside linebacker qualities, which he did a lot at. Let's be real, at LSU. So they're still bringing in a classic hybrid, right? Just like Tack, just like Vic. But let me tell you what's going to be the telling sign for the Atlanta Falcons. If they have a chance to get him, if he's there when they draft, see what he runs at the combine.
Yeah.
If he runs fast at the combine, one thing that DQ loves is speed upfield. If Chasen runs fast at the combine, and he does that on pro day and shows that kind of movement, sometimes they'll overdraft for a guy with speed that looks athletic than where he should be. Because remember, people overdraft pass rushers all the time, but you just hope you hit a home run.
Nicholas Soto on our Facebook comment section says there's no way that Javon Kinlaw will be available when Atlanta drafts at 16. I believe that's true, at least the base of what I can tell right now. Of the two elite interior defensive linemen in this first round, Derek Brown and Javon Kinlaw, you get the impression that Kinlaw is moving closer to Derek Brown. Brown's still the top guy there. I think Brown's a top 5 pick. But in terms of perception, and I think a lot of this is on the basis of what Kinlaw did at the Senior Bowl. And on the basis of perception, I think that Kinlaw is actually moving a little closer into that Derek Brown territory. I think Brown's still the highest rated defensive tackle taken, but I think that Javon Kinlaw is getting closer.
Well, I think so too, because listen, Kinlaw to me, it's a lot closer than anyone thinks, particularly getting to the end of the year last year when you looked at the Southeastern Conference and how Kinlaw competed, and look at Derek Brown. To me, Derek Brown is more of a true nose guard, a big guy that's going to play in the shade, that's going to hold blockers, but has a unique ability to get penetration. And he's the guy I think that gets the pressures, right? He's the guy that's going to push the pocket. Kinlaw is sudden quickness. He can play a 3 technique. He can play the shade. He has a little bit more versatility than Derek Brown. So Kinlaw, whereas Derek's the guy that's going to push the pile a little bit, Kinlaw's the guy that's going to come in there and clean up after a guy like Derek pushes the pile. But look, Kinlaw, he has value, and Derek Brown does too. But I really like Kinlaw. I like Derek too, but I like Kinlaw a little more.
Hey, it's AJC Falcons News now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Of course, Miller Lite, the official beer of the Atlanta Falcons. It tastes great. It's just 96 calories. Great pleasure to have Miller Lite a part of our program. Let's take a lot of comments here on both Facebook and YouTube on this topic. We'll do more of the stuff that's kind of out there from the media with the Falcons of the draft here coming up. Let's get a few Facebook comments here. We'll pop over to do some YouTube stuff as well. Chris Searcy says, what if we do draft Chasen, end up with another Vic Beasley? I looked at film. He gives up on a lot of plays. And for whatever reason, that body type, I guess, that comparison between Beasley and Chasen is going to be out there. I mean, I hate to say it, but if you had a Vic Beasley in the draft again, you'd probably do it all over again. I mean, that's the thing is like Beasley got here, other than the big season in 2016 when he found the quarterback a lot, he didn't really do as much for as you wanted to, but there's nothing about looking at Vic Beasley that tells you he shouldn't be able to do it. Now, can you say, well, he's a little undersized? Honestly, that's what Quinn and this group wanted. They wanted those speedier guys there, and that's what they drafted Beasley to be able to do. So I don't really know what you do with the comparison between Chasen and Beasley, because on spec, Beasley ought to be better than he turned out to be.
Yeah, I mean, remember, Beasley goes to the combine, he does 225, 30 plus.
That's a good point.
He runs a 4.5, something like that. I mean, he had a great career at Clemson, so nothing about Vic Beasley said that he wouldn't be a consistently productive pass rusher. Now, to me, it's unfair to compare another guy, because you can compare every edge guy in the league. You know what I'm saying? You can compare. Back then, you could have said, well, Tack is going to be a bust. Yeah. Well, Tack's going to be successful. How do we know, right? So to me, those things aren't fair, but I'll tell you why it's that way. Because the legacy of Vic Beasley. So now, every guy that the Falcons bring in here, up until they prove it. And listen, Vic Beasley left a legacy of pressure on anybody that comes behind him. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? Now you throw in Tack McKinley. If Tack don't get it done, there's more to that legacy. So the next pass rusher that comes in here, especially a young guy, he instantly is going to take the pressure of the Falcon Nation, because they're starving for a pass rusher and what Vic Beasley left that they never got to see consistently. And that's just how it's going to work.
Bernard Sharp says, here's his plans for the Falcons. Sign Dante Fowler as a pass rusher, draft the best cornerback available at 16. Then he mentions a couple of defensive tackles to draft with those picks in the second round. My feeling about cornerback is obviously it's a need for Atlanta, but this is another example of, if you want a pass rusher, the best pass rusher in the draft is going way before you pick, and then you're sort of left to settle for either the second best or the third best, depending on what your perspective is. It's the same thing at cornerback. You're going to miss the best cornerback in this draft. I believe that's Jeffrey Okudah. I saw Okudah play a lot for Ohio State. I was always impressed every time that I saw him. You can't draft him. He's a top 5 pick. And so, therefore, you're left with that second best. Another one of these LSU guys. We talk about so many LSU guys, but Christian Fulton from LSU may be the second best cornerback available in the draft, and I just don't know how I feel when it comes to the Falcons settling for second best. Second best pass rusher, second best cornerback. That's why I like the idea of best running back. That's what DeAndre Swift is. Give me the best guy at a position. It just seems like a recipe for success more so than settle for second best anything. I agree, Falcons need a corner. I don't know how much the second best corner helps you.
Well, to me, the jury is out because the evaluations aren't done yet. To me, we don't even know if who's going to be rated where. We don't know who's what, right? Mm-hmm. So I can tell you this. The NFL coaches, they're not in the business of saying, hey, Mel Kiper, we're going to go this way.
That's right.
Matter of fact, any of those guys who have any draft information, for the most part, these NFL teams, listen, there's nothing worse than having a leak as far as in the people at the table.
That's right.
So to me, listen, the entire mock draft that we're all seeing could absolutely be all flipped upside down as we know it.
That's
right. So for me, I want the Falcons to go with the best available, and if that is defensive line, go with it. But how do I even know what they value? Because everybody's evaluation system's different.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? Some teams like big guys, some teams like little guys. But we know this. The Falcons, absolutely, they got to get an edge rusher. I don't know how. We have absolutely none right now, right? We got one that's gone, one that has potential if he can stay healthy.
Wesley Allen says, forget the second best, get the best running back, Swift. I love the idea of doing that. I've written so much at dognation.com. Skylar Gomez comes back to the idea of signing Dante Fowler, something we've talked about on this show before. Fowler has intimated that he'd like to be in Atlanta. I'm assuming he'd also like to be anywhere that's going to give him big-time bucks. How do you feel about addressing the pass rush with that big-time free agent? And by the way, if you do that, we're going to get more into this in a minute, but if you go down the Dante Fowler train, I'm no math expert, I'm not a salary capologist, but if you go down the Dante Fowler path, you're saying goodbye to Austin Hooper. Do you want Dante Fowler more than you want Austin Hooper? And this is, by the way, something for Falcons fans to answer as well.
I do.
Okay.
I mean, he's instantly better than anything we've had over the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
But here's my thing about anybody that comes to the ATL. Can you handle the city? Will you come here and be like you once were with a team that's young? Will you not be out? I'm not saying now. This is listen, part of the history of Atlanta, a lot of them just telling you how it works. You might not have heard, but it is some like things that are going on around here. And that's huge. So you bring a person here, number one, I want to make sure Dante can handle his business, be a leader in the locker room, not as much as be about being in the streets, because there were some questions at Jacksonville. Yeah, everybody going to be a model citizen when I'm with Aaron Donald. Yeah, I'm a model citizen when I got guys around me and I'm trying to fight for a contract. I love this guy. I think he can get the job done. He got that dog in him. And if we can get him, I would rather get him than Hooper. I'm big on Hooper, but we can survive without a tight end at that point. But I don't know, man. We ain't going nowhere if we don't get better on the pass rush. We ain't.
No, I think that's probably a fair point to bring up. Let me get some YouTube comments as well here on AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. More on the Hooper situation in just a moment. Some of what's been out there in the national media about that. Rocky Ramsey says he thinks that Dante Fowler can elevate Tack McKinley Tack's game. How do you feel about that?
I don't believe it. Tack got to elevate his own
No, come
game.
on, that's not fair. It's easier if you got a good pass rusher on the other side. I mean, you know better than me.
No. Okay, I thought you mean like a teacher type situation.
No, like it's just easier to have somebody on the other side, right? And I think that's what Rocky means about that.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no question. If you got a guy who can rush, you want a two-headed monster, yeah, you got it. You know what I'm saying? But no question about that. But I'm talking about the teaching part. You can motivate, but at this point, but you're right. He will help Tack as far as getting to the quarterback, and even more Grady.
Somebody mentioned in their Facebook comment section a moment ago, I was going to try to find this, the idea of, Jason Colon, that's an interesting idea. Cam Akers, the running back out of Florida State in round 3, round 4, something like that. That's a pretty interesting bag. I mean, listen, Falcons got a lot of needs. My preference would be to address running back earlier than that. But Akers out of Florida State's a pretty interesting name for sure. That's a pretty interesting name. Anthony Wright also mentioned Zach Vaughn out of Wisconsin. He says, how about Zach Vaughn in the second round? I guess there is a chance that Vaughn could still be there when Atlanta picks in the second round, but that's also been a guy that you've seen in some first-round projections as well. But Vaughn, in addition to Epinesa and Chasen, that Wisconsin pass rusher, more of an outside linebacker probably than a defensive end, that's one of those names we've seen kind of kicked around here a lot.
And we've heard a lot of names that also can be in the third round.
Yeah.
They're going to be running backs in the fourth round. So, and also, when you're looking at the Falcons, we talked about the secondary. As much as we're talking about running back, as much as we're talking about pass rusher, we got to look at safety. We got to look at corner. Listen, Trufant, it's been universally figured out that he ain't quite what we thought he was going to be. Solid player, not bad, but never became a lockdown, shutdown corner. Now, Keanu Neal, I think Keanu's a beast, and I'm praying that he comes back and becomes who he was. He's a great dude. He was a hammer. He was the future, and this defense was really almost built around him, right? At one point it was. You got to prepare like he's not going to be there. You just do. I mean, you know what I'm saying? From a team standpoint, you do, but as far as a management, you got to say, you know what? Maybe get somebody in that fourth round that, can be kind of like, if he doesn't come back. But listen, we got some issues, but they can be addressed in this draft.
I start to worry on the behalf of the Falcons. They have too many issues. When you say, and you said it very accurately a moment ago, you can't win if you don't upgrade your pass rush. You could also say on the other side of the ball, you can't win if you don't start running the ball better. Then you say, well, what about your cornerback? You got to have one of those. Left guard, you got to have one of those. Falcons have at least 4 spots that are must improves. I'm talking about to even be 7-9 again. I think you got to improve in these other 4 areas. And if you think about being 9-7, 10-6, 11-5, those 4 I just mentioned, cornerback, and that's not even mentioning defensive line, by the way. That's almost, I'm talking about interior nose guard type stuff. That becomes a 5th major need. That's 5 really big needs that are almost must-improves during the offseason. That's a lot to do over the course of 1 year.
Are you talking about needs? So I want to ask you a question.
All right.
You asked me a question about Hooper versus a pass rusher.
Yeah.
So where do you see Hooper in regards to all those other positions? Pass rusher, even, because the draft, you're going to pay money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, at that first-round pick. Where does Hooper rate up there for you when it comes to a pass rusher? Let's just talk about a pass rusher in free agency versus Hooper.
I would rather have Hooper than a pass rusher you're going to buy because I don't want to pay someone for what they did for some other team. If Dante Fowler's coming here, I'm essentially giving him millions of dollars because of what he did wearing a different uniform than the one he's going to be wearing here. There are a lot of these buyer beware things when it comes to these guys in a contract year who just suit up and they get rocked up and they're ready to go for one big year, and all of a sudden that motivation is not quite as intense anymore once the ink is dry on that contract they just signed. Dante Fowler, I think he's an impressive looking prospect, but I know what Hooper's going to be for me. I'm not saying tight end is as important as pass rush. I think you could probably say pretty clearly it's not. But I know what Hooper is. I know what he can do in this uniform. I got a gazillion dollars invested in a wide receiver and a quarterback, and my offense is about as non-dynamic and unexplosive as any in the NFL right now is. I can't leave those two guys hanging with half an offense.
Well, look, I'm just trying to get to the bottom.
No, I know. That's a good question. It's a fair question.
Look, so where are you going to get a pass rusher at then?
I'm going to tell Tech McKinley to start playing better.
No, we know we can't count on Tech, but you just talked about getting Swift.
Yeah.
So we ain't getting Swift. We're not going to get a pass rusher in free agency.
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
I mean,
I'm saying
I looked at the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, they played well defensively in the playoffs. I'm not going to say they didn't in the Super Bowl. But I looked at the Kansas City Chiefs team that won the Super Bowl mostly by playing offense and then mostly by throwing the ball. That's what I just saw. I have seen when the Saints won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, they had a bad defense. There are bad defensive teams that win the Super Bowl. It's good to have an average defense, but if you've got a bad defense, if you're scoring enough points, you're kind of okay. When the Falcons won the Super Bowl, they didn't have a great defense that year. Beasley had a good year, but defensively, all the way around, it wasn't a great year for Atlanta. So I can be okay on defense and still make the Super Bowl if I'm scoring enough points per game. That's kind of my recipe. And by the way, after all the attention that Raheem Morris got for switching sides of the ball and Dan Quinn's supposed to be a defensive mastermind, coach somebody up.
Supposed to be or
supposed to be? Supposed to be. Supposed to be.
Okay, back to something you did say now.
All right.
I know we want to move forward, but
no, that's fine. Yeah.
On this show, I said after the Super Bowl, who's going to be the best defense? Is it going to be the San Fran or is it going to be the Chiefs? Dude, the Chiefs play solid defense, and listen.
In the playoffs, they did for sure.
In the Super Bowl, the offense wasn't doing nothing. Mm-hmm. They went 3 quarters doing nothing. That defense held them down. I mean, that is not relevant to what we're truly saying, but just had to throw that in.
You called that.
Yeah.
Let me get some YouTube comments. AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Iron Mike brings up a really good point that the Chiefs have a really good offensive coaching staff, us not so much. And at this point in time, I can't really dispute that too much. Jeff DeSeer, and I hope I pronounced this correctly on YouTube, says, we can't assume Dante Fowler of having the same productivity that he had in La La Land and continue that with here in Atlanta. And that's just true. I mean, you can't assume that. If anything, you'd assume the opposite because really what he did last year for the Rams is the outlier for his career.
But that's in any job. I mean, look, listen, free agency is a gamble. It is one of the biggest gambles you can take. You know what I'm saying?
But you don't have to make it. You don't have to make that gamble. You can say you can play a little safer. I mean, like, your own investments. I know you're a shrewd investor. You're not out there buying a bunch of crazy stocks. You're playing it safe with blue chips.
I thought you was going to talk about me. I'm in that situation. Yeah. Hey, thank God Carolina didn't look at that with me.
Yeah. I mean, listen. I'm not saying you shouldn't go get. I'm not saying you shouldn't go get your money. But I've told you this before. When it comes to team versus player, if you're the fan, you got to root for the team. You got to try to buy these guys as cheaply as you can. The teams that get themselves in the most trouble are the ones that throw a bunch of money freely out in free agency. You're not buying a lot of Super Bowls. You're just not. You're drafting Super Bowls.
No, I lived it now. I wasn't saying it. No, you were right. I lived it. All right. I was the top free agent on the market in 1999. All right. Number one in NFL.
All right, go get your money.
So, look, get your money, right? So, Carolina brings me in. Amen. Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Brings me in.
Shout out.
So I'm looking at it from the player standpoint. Yeah. Thank you, Carolina. I'm looking at it from the Panthers standpoint. So they brought me in. They thought they were going to get a pass rusher. They got an old dude who couldn't hardly walk to the field.
Yeah.
So, but from the player standpoint, I mean, I was, South Charlotte.
Oh, listen. And when you go in there for that interview,
I'm Fowler.
Hey,
I'm Fowler because it could happen that way. So look, from the player standpoint, look, you're trying to get your money, right?
Yeah.
But it is a gamble by the organization. So Carolina took a gamble on me, but I understand.
Right.
I was just like Fowler.
Yeah.
I had the year before, I had I think 10 or 11 sacks. So,
right.
They thinking they getting the bargain basement. So, I walk up in the Charlotte, hey, South Charlotte, hey.
What is it?
I walk down the Charlotte like, hey. I was like I had backed up to the teller, man, robbed the teller, but I had to leave like this, man. So to this day, it's funny when I look back, man, but, as the player, man, look, the best day of my life was when they gave me that money.
Yeah.
And as a player, you kind of like, man, but I left Charlotte, so the good thing I didn't get honestly, look, the good thing is when I got the contract in Atlanta, Coach Reeves came to me and said, hey, Chuck, we're not going to be able to sign you back. We don't project you in 2 years out, to be who you are. And I was like, cool. Right. Taylor Smith was super cool about it. But my thing was always like this. I'm glad Atlanta didn't sign me the way things went because I knew it was over. My knee was terrible.
Right.
I gutted it out my eighth year. But I'm glad that what happened to me didn't happen here than Carolina. I left Carolina.
Yeah, you'd rather stick it to Carolina than stick it to the Falcons.
No question. I did not want to carry. This real talk. I did not want to carry that legacy of the organization I loved and was drafted by. So in Carolina, hey, when I go to Carolina and say, hey man, did you play football? Yeah, I'm Chuck Smith. You were a bust. Oh, you stole money. I'm like this. I'm still dancing when I'm in Charlotte. When I get back to Atlanta, I'm like, I'm good in Atlanta. But Charlotte, y'all got to sorry, Panthers.
This is a slightly different point, but it's also kind of the problem in the NFL where we got more of the guys that are making the big dollars sort of like after they're kind of done, have their productive season, right?
Yeah.
You got guys having productive seasons for no money, guys who are kind of on the tail end of their career making the big money. It's almost like you'd like to reverse that, right?
Yeah.
Get paid for having the good season more so than get paid after the good season for a team that's not getting good value out of you.
You hit a home run. And listen, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
But look, like Hooper, just, he's won. Hooper's won no matter what happens with him and the Falcons, he's won. But you'd love to get a guy in his prime, but it don't happen like that. You know what I mean? So, you got to take a calculated risk. You got to calculate who you think can work, but it's always going to be a risk.
JU Talk Sports on YouTube says, I think that Robert Quinn's the safest guy to sign. And in a roundabout way,
there we go.
I haven't really run the numbers and all of this, but there is something to be said for give me like a little bit down the trough here, a little cheaper guy.
He is cheaper.
That's what I'm saying. Give me that guy more so than the most expensive pass rusher that's out there. What I'm saying is I kind of agree for that reason of I'll take my chances on someone who has a chance to be undervalued more so than a guy that I got to pay a premium for.
No, you're right. Now, for Robert Quinn, that's different. I'd rather get Robert Quinn for 2 years, 3 years as an edge guy. Now, that's the kind of guy that, to me, he brings the heat. So I just think he's a great rusher. I've watched him. He's still super successful. Doesn't fit in at Dallas, but that's what I'm doing. I would rather get, my number one guy is Yannick. But again, we ain't getting Yannick Ngakoue.
It's going to be hard to bring in him because I'm not sure I can say Ngakoue. Is that how you say Ngakoue?
Well, I think I'm saying it right, Ngakoue.
You say it good. I don't say it.
But good don't mean it's right.
Yeah, but you say it with such confidence. When I get to it, I'm like, Ngakoue. Like I'm kind of tiptoeing to that line a little bit.
Like my son gets mad at me for saying Giannis Nkakapatupo.
Yeah, I can't say.
I just struggle with that.
Greek freak, I cannot say that last name.
My son gets mad.
Yeah.
Like, why you can't say this, Dad?
No, I can't say
that.
Bro,
come on, man. I'm 50 years old with a few hits to the head.
Come on, man. Yeah.
Come on.
I've got way too thick a tongue to try to do that. Shane Elliott on YouTube says, bring in Dontari Poe, Jason Witten, Robert Quinn, let Hooper go. Trade 2nd, 4th, 7th round picks for Von Miller. With first pick, get Swift. Second pick, get Isaiah Wilson. That's quite a plan.
He's trying to roll in the old folks' home. What you do? Hey, you gonna bring in all those guys? Those are old. Now, listen, you ain't getting Von Miller, but hey, look, don't ever say that Von might not leave. The team, Denver ain't going nowhere.
All right, let me do this. It's AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. Also, if you want to stay up to date on everything happening with the Falcons, getting ready for the draft, Combine coming up, free agency. Of course, the best way to do that is become an AJC subscriber. Subscribe.ajc.com/Falcons News Now. You will stay up to date on everything happening with the Falcons. A lot of different choices. You get the daily e-paper. You like to read on your phone or iPad, your laptop, whatever else. You want Sunday home delivery, you can get that. 7-day home delivery, all kinds of options. Whichever one you choose, you can cancel anytime. So it's no reason not to get involved in on that. And as a special thank you, as you see on your screen, and as I hold in my hand here, this officially branded Falcons cooler as a thank you to you for becoming an AJC subscriber. So go to this website, subscribe.ajc.com/Falcons News Now. Of course, the Falcons and the AJC are proud partners. One of the ways we show that off is with this cooler, and I guess pretty soon, we're going to talk more about uniforms later on. Pretty soon, though, we're going to have a brand new logo on our Falcons cooler here.
I know, that's going to be the throwback. How about that?
I like the throwback stuff.
I'm excited about the new uniforms.
Yeah, so we're going to do more on that here coming up. Let me give you this on Austin Hooper for a second. And, Tony Pauline, you can take him seriously or you cannot. It's sort of up to you. But anytime someone's this emphatic about an opinion, it gets my attention. This is from the Pro Football Network. The mailbag question to Pauline is, if the Falcons do not re-sign Austin Hooper, do you see them going after any free agents? And here's what Pauline says. He says the Falcons won't re-sign Hooper, as he will cost Atlanta too much money, either via tag or via multi-year deal. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if this is announced soon by the team. I'm told they hope to come out of free agency with a pass rusher. On February 4th, I mentioned the Falcons liked Dante Fowler and that he wanted to play in Atlanta. So Pauline is the one who initially broke that. But how about the idea of not even considering, not even hesitating? The Falcons will not re-sign Austin Hooper. Boy, you don't see a lot of people in the media right now, Chuck, kind of holding a candle in the window that this really does happen. You can read Pauline here or like a million other people other places. You really get the sense that Atlanta, according to the media reports now, take those with a grain of salt, national more so than local, but according to the national media reports, Atlanta appears to be moving on from Austin Hooper. Is this too emphatic on the part of the people who are reporting this?
Well, no, I'm not surprised because they are desperate for an edge rusher now.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we want, listen, what's going to happen is if I'm going to get this edge rusher, I'm taking Hooper's money and I'm going out and getting the edge rusher. Mm-hmm. So to me, I don't have a problem with it. And to me, it sounds right. And not necessarily because he said it. It just sounds right because, listen, we just talked about, and you really kind of hit me across the head with this about this Falcons offense. Mm-hmm. If we can't thrive without a tight end, we got, 2 first-round at wide receiver. We got about 4 on the offensive line. We got a MVP quarterback. Then we got issues. But as far as a pass rusher, you ain't even getting to the playoffs if you ain't got no pass rusher.
Yeah.
It's not even a thought.
What I don't agree with at all, though, is Pauline says, I wouldn't be surprised if this is announced soon by the team. Basically, they're moving on from Hooper. This is a la what they did with Vic Beasley a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't believe that's going to happen. I don't believe there'll be any public projection from Atlanta, a proclamation that they're not attempting to re-sign Austin Hooper. I think all of this conjecture is putting the ball in Hooper's court. We've heard people say, this tight end market's going to be robust. Over the next couple of years, these tight ends are going to sign huge deals. Expect Austin Hooper to be the first one to do that or among the first to do that. I think all of this puts the ball in Hooper's court to go start the negotiation. Basically go find a deal, bring it back to Atlanta and say, I've got Team X that's willing to pay me Y number of dollars. Are you willing to match that? At that point in time, Atlanta can say, no, we're not. But this whole notion of this big, robust market for Atlanta, a big, robust market for Hooper, the Falcons would be dumb to be the ones to start the bidding for Hooper. Let the bidding come from somebody else, and then let the Falcons decide if they want to match it. But that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, it does, and if they want to match it. But, like Austin Hooper, when you look at his leverage comes from there's a big market, right, for a great tight end, young tight end, right? He's a solid tight end. But from the standpoint of where the Falcons are, to me, they wouldn't want to show their hand because Austin Hooper obviously knows what the market's like. Mm. So if Austin Hooper's representatives are saying, you know what, this is the hard line. Yeah. This is what we're going to take and nothing less. We know what's on the market. Then that's the reason I would say the Falcons come out and say, you know what, we don't feel it's going to change, and we're going to let you go.
Right.
And part of that also is, we're changing the way we go about our business. No buddy, fluff no more. We don't want you. We're getting rid of you. A la what the New England Patriots do.
Yeah.
Now, if the Falcons, if they don't cut him now, I'll just tell you what I think the thinking could be behind the organization. We're still negotiating, and there's a chance.
Yeah, because, What if the market for Hooper is not what people have said it's going to be? We gave you these Pro Football Focus numbers the other day. I never know if any of that stuff's true or not. I'm not sure how they tabulate these, but they were talking about, not being great against man coverage, being kind of one of those guys that runs those stick routes, turns around and catches the underneath throws. That's Pro Football Focus's assessment of Austin Hooper. What if the rest of the NFL seen the same thing? What if the idea of paying you like a playmaker when all you're doing is being on the receiving end of someone else's work? What if that's the prevailing wisdom of Hooper, and all of a sudden you're not talking about as big of a demand anymore? I think Atlanta would be wise to stay in this on Hooper until the end, decide if they want to match a deal or not, but Falcons would be foolish to be the ones to start the big negotiations, to set the market for Hooper. Let somebody else who wants Hooper set the market for him.
Well, you know what? Much respect out to Pro Football Focus, right?
Yeah.
Much love, and they created a nice forum for a lot of football nerds to get their information who really, don't see things through the lens of a coach. Now, I can just tell you this right now. The Chuck Smith focus watch every play Austin Hooper did last year. I don't know how many people can say that, but I'm sure it's a lot of us because we're Falcon fans. I watch every play he played last year. This dude is a big time player. Listen, but it ain't his fault that the offensive line gave up 48 sacks. It ain't his fault there was no running game. And then look, and we also beat up the offensive coordinator, saying he ain't got no creativity. But now Hooper's getting ripped by this analytics. Everybody don't go by analytics. This is an old school NFL. Look at the foundation these guys are running teams. I understand, but the analytics, I'm not worried about that because it's about a fit. A lot of coaches look how players like Austin Hooper would fit in their creative offense.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That focuses more on what tight ends can do. Because we see all these guys, but I get it, but then I don't get it.
Let me get a few more comments here. And by the way, after that, I'm going to tell you how you can come out and see us coming up a week from today. AJC Falcons News now sponsored by Miller Lite on the road for the first time. We're doing that a week from today. We'll tell you more about that coming up. By the way, Iron Mike on YouTube says what Pro Football Focus says of Austin Hooper. He says that's my analysis of Michael Thomas, the Saints receiver.
Yeah, I can see that. Gets thrown to every time. I mean, again, yeah, Michael Thomas does have some short routes. But look, I mean, the guy broke a record. So, again, I hear you, though.
Antonio Stark says Dante Fowler's going to want too much money. Let him go also, although Terrell Jennings comes back and says, nah, Dante Fowler all day. And Falcons, Hawks, Braves fan extraordinaire says about the Falcons, he says, really? They don't need a tight end? The Chiefs, 49ers both had all-world tight ends and were significant contributors to their team's success. Keep Hoop. I mean, basically what the commenter there says has been my argument for why I want them to keep him and have thought that was the best move for the Falcons all the way around. But ultimately, it just kind of comes down to the expense of it all, I guess.
Yeah, but we're not – listen, now one time did we say we don't want Hooper if Hooper is on the menu and he's the number one priority or at least number two. What I'm saying, and I think what you said – well, no, what I said, you said it differently. If it comes down to Fowler and it comes down to Hooper, I'm taking Hooper and I'm going with Fowler. But it comes down to Hooper versus, another tight end or just a whole nother vision of, what I'm saying?
Right.
I'd rather have I'm good with Hoop getting $10 million.
I'm definitely not paying Hooper the same per year salary that Dante Fowler is going to command. I mean,
no way.
I'll be the first to tell you, even though I want to argue for Hooper and bringing him back, pass rush is more important than tight end.
But you know how much Fowler, you know what the bottom line is for this dude?
Like 12?
What? 12? Man, listen, the tag right now, franchise tag is almost 15, 16 million. He's going to get more than that. Listen, you're talking about 18, look, you're talking about between 15 to 18 million dollars a year. 12? Man, you back in you old school, man. You in Clyde Simmons, Reggie White, Chuck Smith era, man. Them boys hitting the bank now.
Stephen B. on YouTube says Fowler's a bad contract waiting to happen. He is. How you said that you were over there in what is it?
I'm being transparent.
Is it South Fork? Is that where it is in
South Charlotte? Hey,
yeah.
People from Charlotte know where the Palms is. And
exactly.
Chang's.
Killing it. That's gonna be Dante Fowler going around like I don't even know, Buckhead, wherever else, just dancing around and enjoying all that money.
See how
Falcons shedding tears every time they have to give him that game check.
See how I'm being transparent and you just throw me under the bus?
Listen, I'm just saying.
It could be. Now, see, the difference between him and me, I only played one game.
Right.
Well, actually 2 games. I played 2 games and I was
you were hurt. You were hurt.
Yeah, but still though, listen, what everybody's saying, that possibility is out there. You just never know. But will he be that extreme like me? You know what I'm saying? But I get it. And if that happened, that'd be a bad look on the Falcons. But what else is there to do, y'all? What else can we do right now? Not get a pass rusher?
Yeah.
And listen, are we going to draft Espinoza, and let's just say they do get him and hope he becomes a prime pass rusher? It's rare for a pass rusher to come in the NFL and become a guy instantly. Mm-hmm. It takes time. So to me, you got to go with a surefire veteran unless you go hoop.
By the way, this is a tough comparison. Kay Green on YouTube comparing Dante Fowler to Ray Edwards. Remember signing him from the Minnesota Vikings?
Y'all wrong for
That's
that.
a tough situation.
Y'all wrong. He ain't trying to be no model. Y'all
That's
wrong
a tough
for that.
situation. By the way, Antonio Starks also, for whatever reason, Devontae Campbell's name just doesn't come up in any of this kind of stuff. I'm about national media. Everybody's about Hooper this and Hooper that. Nobody's talking about Campbell much right now, are they?
I just think his numbers and his value right now aren't as high as, I'm sure he wants. This is a linebacker. He's a will linebacker.
Yeah.
Will linebackers in the base 4-3, they're not making a lot of money because they're covered. They're traditional linebackers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Listen, the linebacker position that's not in the 3-4, the value has went down. The premiums on defensive linemen and 3-4 outside linebackers. So I think there's a number that they feel like they can get Devondre at, but I think it's a league thing. You don't hear nobody. If you go look at the list, there's not a lot of traditional off-the-ball linebackers that are high on this list. They're pass rushers, D linemen, receivers, quarterbacks, that kind of thing.
Kevin Brentlinger brings up Shaq from out of the Bucks. That's a guy that's going to be expensive.
See,
that's expensive.
Yeah, but that is listen. They're all going to be lumped in there together.
Dante Fowler's not going to make that much. Man, people are going to look. People are going.
This was Shaq's
He's going to be
first year.
more expensive than the Falcons can afford, but people are going to see through this.
Well, what's the difference? What's the difference
like
between
nobody
Shaq?
likes contract year heroes.
But what's the difference between Shaq and Fowler? They both had one good year.
Yeah, but weren't Shaq's numbers way better?
I mean, he led the league, so his are better than Aaron Donald, Von Miller. I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence.
Maybe they are the same, but I mean, I don't know.
No, but as a pure rusher, Shaq is better.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. Hey, coming up on Friday, 1 week from today, AJC Falcons News Now going to be on the road. If you're in the Atlanta area, we'd love to have you come by and see us at the 38th Annual Atlanta International Auto Show at the Georgia World Congress Center. We're going to be there from 1, we're doing our show from 1 p.m. We'll be right out there outside. It's a Building C there at the Georgia World Congress Center. There's like 24 manufacturers. I'm talking about cars, SUVs, trucks. You can come out and see all that. Cousin Eddie's RV from Christmas Vacation. Some of those exotic cars from Caffeine Octane. So you're going to have just an incredible experience. It's always one of the fun weekends, and it's pretty much all weekend next weekend. But we're going to be there on Friday, February 28th, the Georgia World Congress Center for the Atlanta International Auto Show. Adult tickets just $12. You got cheaper tickets for kids. If you have kids young enough, they're actually even free. So if you go to the website, goautoshow.com, you can find out more details. It's goautoshow.com. Come out and see us do AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite, this upcoming Friday, 1 week from today, at the Atlanta International Auto Show at the Georgia World Congress Center. Cannot wait to see you there. You can come see Chuck pick out a new vehicle. It's about time.
That's right.
It's about time for you to get a new ride, right?
They got Chevy Novas there.
Maybe so.
I'm a heavy Chevy. I'm still from Athens J now.
Yeah.
I'm old school.
People still call them whips. You gonna get a new whip?
No, I don't call it whips. That's when I was younger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's not a thing anymore.
That's old school. That's
yeah.
a whip. You're showing your age.
Probably am. All right, speaking of showing my age, let me talk about this for a moment. So, pretty good stuff from Falcons coach Dan Quinn. We got more of your comments coming up, I promise. We'll do whatever you want to do before we're done. Lisa Shepard, by the way, says she's come out to see us. Lisa, can't wait to see you on Friday. Thanks so much. Looking forward to that. We'll see you there at the Georgia World Congress Center. So, Falcons getting new uniforms. They're going to drop in April. And you got a lot of people online kind of doing their thing of what they might look like. I'm not going to show you that kind of stuff because I don't want to start any kind of rumor mill about what they might be. But they're going to be a new look, different look. Falcons coach Dan Quinn recently made an appearance on kind of an official team-branded Falcons podcast. Matt Tabig is the host there of that. And the subject of new uniforms come up. He says that the host to Quinn, hey, sometimes teams change uniforms and the team actually performs better in the new gear. What are your expectations for your new uniforms, and are the players excited about wearing something new on the field this season? Here's what Quinn said about that.
I think they put a lot into the way they look, number one, because when you have, like, think about all of us, being on team sports and you have your uniform, like, man, that feels right. But for this particular look, I've been fighting for this for a few years too. So I couldn't be more thrilled to see some of this look come together. So
so you've been a mover and a shaker behind the scenes for this.
Yeah, so I am in full support of this move and where we're at. So not only will
some hints there.
The players be happy, but I think the fans, I know the head coach certainly is with a lot of them. So I think it looks really cool.
So you hear Quinn there say that he's actually been pushing for new uniforms for a while. This is something he wants. So you kind of make fun of me for being a little bit of an old school guy. When it comes to Falcons and what you want to see them wear, do you want them to be more new school or do you want them to be more old school? You want them something like brand new, like that has never been before, or you want them to throw back to something from a previous era?
I want to hold on to all the eras, but I want to catch up. I want to be new. I want cutting edge. I want to see the Falcons have more. I want to see them add more red to the uniforms.
I do too.
Kind of like, something new and cutting edge, but a throwback to kind of Barkowski. When they were, more red, they would have the red helmets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I tell you what I would really like if they're going to do this. I like to have multiple uniforms.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
When the Vic era, it seemed like they did wear multiple uniforms, right? Because if you go back and watch some of those Vic highlights, you've got like black on black, you've got red on black, you've got. I feel like they kind of mixed up the thing a little bit, and for a while didn't they even have the two different color helmets? Maybe I'm making that up when they didn't. But I do feel like if you want to go back to Vic era, they just had more combos they wore more frequently. Yeah,
and I think it also the fans like it from the standpoint of the real invested fans. What are we wearing this week? I felt like they do in Oregon.
Yeah.
We're going green shirts, whatever. Not everybody at Oregon wears green.
Yeah.
We're going white.
When these college teams, Oregon obviously made it famous, but a lot of the college teams do it. When they tweet out their uniform combination, people always love it. I mean, it's
a
like
big deal.
Fans love that. If the Falcons had the multiple combinations, especially since this isn't the Packers, the Steelers, the Cowboys, one of these teams that have like a super, famous uniform.
Yeah.
You might as well go the other direction. You might as well have something that's a little bit mixed up. I agree with you as well. I love the Barkowski era red on silver. I'm also a Georgia fan, and I'm not being funny. I'm being serious. Red on silver with the red helmet, is that too much like Georgia playing in the same state?
No. I
don't think so either.
I mean, it's not like we just came out of the clear blue sky and said, hey, we're going to be red and black. The Falcons and Georgia are connected by the same colors. That was
Rankin Smith's idea when the uniform first got started.
I mean, you got to know, part of the history is this. But I'll tell you like we're talking about, I'll tell you what would be cool. Have you seen some of them XFL uniforms? Watch the XFL. Now remember, these aren't like the new, what is it, AAFF football league where they was kind of over the top, a little bit goofy, kind of silly. Listen, the XFL got something going. There's a few little technology things that I've seen, but
you like the new kickoff? You see the new kickoff rules? You like
NFL got to jump on it.
Yeah.
Got to jump on it.
If you care about player safety,
got to jump on it.
Because the fact of the matter is, like, the onside kick is essentially out of the game now anyway. Yeah. They've changed the rules so much you can't really recover onside kicks anymore. But if you want to do player safety, for those of you who haven't seen it, like kickers back here, kick returners back here, blockers and tacklers are all like right there
like
lined up.
20 yards apart.
So nobody's getting a running start on anybody like that. You're not having any headhunting going on.
Yep.
That's a pretty good. This is getting away from uniform talk, but that's a pretty good. I guess sort of creative new approach to that. It's something I could see the NFL copying.
I love it. And then guess who else gets happy? The big offensive and defensive linemen, because now they can cover. It's only from the 20 to the goal line.
Yeah,
but
don't even think that's not true.
Man, I can't wait to see what the new uniforms look like. Kudos out to the Falcons. For coming up with a new uniform. I think it's slick. I think it's cool.
Wesley J. Allen on Facebook says, "How about all black with red highlights?" I like a little color in my uniform, whether it be a little bit of white. I do like white pants. I'm old school that way. A little bit of red. I hope it's more red than not. How you feel about all black?
I like all black with a Falcon new logo. It's going to be a total new logo too, clearly.
Do you think so? Because this thing right here, now old school days, it's like tilted this way, right? Old school days like tilted this way. But this thing has been the Falcons logo in some form or fashion since basically 66. Do you think they're going to get away from this?
Yes.
So no more bird in flight? Or at least not a bird that looks like that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be some sort of bird, and they might put like ATL in it. I don't know. Some sort of bird.
See, I'll be very curious. Do they? Because this is just a modified version of the original logo. And I'm sorry to turn my back to y'all, but this is like a modified version of the original logo. You think they might? Yeah, just like that. Yeah. You think they might actually go away from the bird and fly? That's
built around the original one. I'll say yes, because I think part of Arthur Blank's legacy is changing everything moving forward, and I think that he built this platform on we're not the old school. Yeah. He built this platform, and we got a new, pretty stadium. And now I think that one of the final things that he's doing is he's going to get rid of the logo and change the uniforms. Moving forward, now will probably be how they always look.
Lee Abner says, I'm okay with looking like Any Given Sunday Willie Beeman jerseys. I remember the movie. I don't remember the uniforms. Do you remember the uniforms?
Yeah.
I know Willie Beeman, but I don't remember the uniforms.
That was a good one.
A couple here on YouTube here for a moment. So Iron Mike says, say it ain't so, Chuck. You got to keep the flying F, which is kind of what this looks like. See, it kind of looks like an F like that.
F? But what?
The F stands for Falcon. Yeah, see, it's kind of like that.
Man, I've been a Falcon fan since 1978. I played for 9 years. You turned me on to something, Iron Mike.
What that reminds me though is like the same thing for the people who live in Atlanta. That kind of like, and I'm a bad drawer. Yeah. You know how like that Hawks thing, people call it the Pac-Man logo for such a long time because they couldn't see the hawk in there. They thought it looked like a Pac-Man thing.
Why are we so big on shapes? And you got Atlanta on the side of the basketball arena. You got just
I think letters. The fact
that does not. When I look at that, there's no F about that. There's no F.
What are you talking about?
I mean, you can make anything to F. I mean, anything. That's an F.
No, I mean it's shaped like an F. I'm not saying it's like. I mean, it's meant to be a bird, but it's kind of shaped like an F.
I agree now that you and Iron Mike said it, but hey, that's an F, y'all. That's an F.
We'll do a couple other comments here. By the way, some interesting comparisons between Jamal Anderson, some running back talk in there. A lot of folks still talking draft stuff, so we'll get a few more of these. Kay Green talking about Chase Young. Chase Young's going to be drafted 3 hours before Atlanta makes a pick, though.
Yeah. What about Jamal Anderson?
I really didn't know. I couldn't quite figure that out.
My ears popped up, one of my old teammates.
Oh, here's a good point. Peter Pickett brings up a pretty good point. That if you look at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you've got that like big Falcon statue. Have you seen this thing?
Yeah, the metal.
It's more like the thing like that's wide. I mean, they could kind of change to instead of like a two-dimensional bird in flight like this, something more like front-on like that. That's actually a pretty interesting point.
With all silver kind of look.
By the way, Deborah McLaughlin's calling you out in the Facebook comment section. She says, that's definitely an F. Lisa Shepard is there as well.
I need to get my readers.
You may have been the only one that didn't know that.
I wear readers. I'm going to have my readers next week because there's some things I can't see unless I got my readers on.
Is that right?
Who said that, Deborah?
Deborah and Lisa, they're calling you out in the comment section.
Man, y'all call me out.
I actually like Peter Pickett's point of it could be built like the bird in front of the stadium. I guess my only thing is I'd rather see them go backwards than forwards. Like some of these teams who've like really gone like newer school with their uniforms, I think they kind of ruined them, right? I mean, the best uniforms in the league to me are Bears, Giants, Jets, Steelers, Packers. I like the old uniforms, man. Those are the ones that look the best. Like when you're a kid playing in your backyard, that's the kind of uniform you think about wearing. You don't think about wearing Tennessee Titans uniforms. That looks like Any Given Sunday. Like, like just some sort of, that looks like just some sort of random thing from a movie. You didn't want to pay the rights for NFL uniforms, so you just made up a uniform. That's what the Titans are wearing every Sunday.
What, see, the mistake there, they should win the Houston Oilers.
Yeah, now the baby blue Oilers uniforms, like what Earl Campbell would have worn or Warren Moon would have worn, that's a hot uniform. That is a nice uniform.
But traditional uniforms, I mean, I understand what you're saying. You know, there's college ones like Georgia, Alabama, but it's going to be interesting. What if the Falcons go? What if they show homage to the old school and create an old school meets new school?
I wouldn't mind that. Yeah. Paul Goodman talking about that old Hawks logo. Yeah, I mean, the Hawks have kind of brought that back sometimes. They brought that Pac-Man logo back. That's the best thing they've ever done. Like that old Dominique uniform, white Pac-Man logo on the shorts, front right there underneath the name. That's the best looking logo. That's the best looking logo they've ever had.
So where's the neon coming at? Like they went out to Oregon and said, "Hey, let's
neon,
borrow your colors."
Like I'm too old for the neon. I'm gonna let the kids have the neon. I'm too old for the neon.
I mean, I like it, but I'm just trying to still figure out when did the neon green get in there. But
Clint Jackson makes a pretty good point that Arthur is stylish. You always see him looking good in those suits. He also makes a point. You were playing for the Falcons. The reason why you didn't know that was an F, you get the helmet on. You're not looking at the helmet. You're seeing through your eyes. You're still looking at the other team.
That was funny.
Eric Brown says I'm showing my age. That's probably true.
That's right, Eric.
AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. I want to show you this. This is really cool. One of the things that we talk a lot about is the work that Chuck is doing with individual coaching. And I wanted to give you an idea of what that looks like in action. But I think it's also appropriate to talk about right now because it's also an example of what everyone's doing right now to get ready for the upcoming combine, upcoming NFL draft. So, Chuck, you've brought some video here,
yes,
and
sir.
I want you to kind of walk us through it and tell us what you see here.
All right, that's me right there talking smack, saying that my guys are the best at what they do, and we're going to be the best in the show at the combine.
Yeah.
All right. See a couple of dogs in there.
There you
So
go.
what we're going to work on, this is called the 45-degree drill. It's a drill that's going to be used at the combine, particularly with the linebackers and the coverage guys. So here's a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
They're going back, and they go around the cone. So what this works on is hips, change of direction, and your ability to get vertical. So you're seeing is they're going around this cone. They're going to get vertical. So what you'll notice, they'll come downhill. They'll shuffle, pivot off the inside and open up at a 45-degree angle. They get vertical, and the ball's coming, and they throw it. And I'm the guy throwing it, and that's what it's called my NFL Combine Pro Day position-specific training. And that handsome guy right there is just me.
So if I'm wanting to do that drill better, if I'm wanting to do it well, obviously when I put my toe on the turf and make that pivot, that's where the quickness comes in. Is there a technique for moving quicker in a short space like that, or is the best athlete just going to be the one that's the best at this?
No, the best athlete doesn't mean anything. You can be taught to have fluid movement. You can't be taught to run faster, right? You can be taught, but what it is called the PP, the pressure foot, plant foot concept. You should be able to change direction out of 2 steps. So the foot that you put down, my first step that I put down, that's my pressure foot.
Yeah.
The foot that you push down, that's my pressure foot. And what I'm going to do is I push off the pressure foot.
Yeah.
And the one that you land on is called the plant foot. So it's a pressure foot, plant foot. And what we're working on pivoting, you learn to pivot off your inside foot. If you notice on his left foot, he pivots. Yeah. Now he's going to pivot off the inside foot. And now, watch this outside foot. They all plant off the outside to inside foot. Watch, he'll come downhill. Watch his right foot. Pivot, open up my hips right there. So that's the two-step change of direction rule. Because what happens is when you change direction, you want to come out in 2 steps. So one of the challenges is when you're a linebacker or a cover guy, guys who can't cover well, they break their feet down and they can't come out of their break in 2 steps.
Right.
Now, my big, extra big, large, giant cover guys, all those guys were 300-pounders. So just because we train, there's another. This is called the gauntlet. This is a conditioning pass rush drill. The guy on the right, that's Khalil Davis from Nebraska.
All right.
And the guy with the hoodie who's making mistakes, but it's a competition, right?
Yeah, right.
And that's Austin Smith, used to be a former Vol, so they have to go around, explode over. It's pass rush gauntlet. We continue to use these different moves. So this is what I do every day. So when I leave here, I'm going right to the gym. I have 24 position-specific skill drills that develop a pass rusher. And a lot of these are the movements because at the end of the day, Brandon, I'm a movement coach. Sure. I teach movement, then I educate guys on how to do the move.
Is footwork the hardest thing to go from like sort of basic to elite with? I mean, it seems like for all positions in football, I know I talked to a lot of offensive linemen who say the same thing, that footwork is real separator, is it not? Yeah,
it is. Footwork's important, but footwork is connected to the hips. Show me tight hips, I'll show you limited footwork. Show me limited footwork, you'll see tight hips. So that is something that you want to train kids at a young age to work on footwork. Now here's a misconception. All moms and dads, grannies, kids that are watching. Speed and agility is not speed. Speed and agility is not footwork. They are separated. So when you take your kids to do agility, it's different. There is no speed concepts. They're broken up. So Brandon, if you want to take your kids to do speed, that's straight on. So what people do, so I want to enlighten our viewers, if you're going to take your child to do speed and agility, they're separated, and you got to find the right place that does that. Because what people do, and all the parents out there, and like I said, people that are watching have experienced this. If you've ever taken a child or understand what the gym is, they'll have you doing speed and agility. They tear your kids up, wear them out, and then from their standpoint, they felt like they were doing speed and agility. Sideways is different than forward. Agility is agility, speed is speed. So this is a 3-back shiver drill. Good job on there, Mike. This drill works on knee bend and shooting your hands. This is something that you'll see on the combine on Monday. And Okay, this is just a commercial right here for my high school
Oh, that's
training.
nice.
This Sunday, 3 o'clock, bring your kids, 9th through 12th grade. Everybody's walk-ins. We accept walk-ins, and, we train hard. That big guy kind of wasn't like a kid. I just had to slip him in there, though. But all these kids are kids from all around the state. I have guys come from Charlotte, from Alabama, Athens, everywhere, all around the city, all around the state.
You mentioned getting worn out in training a moment ago. I forgot to mention this earlier. A lot of proposed changes coming to the NFL as we get ready to wrap up here today. It seems like there's momentum growing for adding a 17th game to the schedule. Seems like there's momentum growing for adding a 7th team to the playoffs, which would obviously change the entire format. Now you only have one bye in the bye team to the divisional rounds. You okay with this? You okay with adding a game to the schedule? You okay with adding a team to the playoffs, adding more games, obviously more teams into the playoffs? You okay with that?
I'm okay with adding them to the playoffs, but I would like to see the players kind of stand their ground a little bit, at least for a while, as far as trying to get a little more a piece of the pie with the overall money.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, the 17th game, when you start getting to game 13, 14, it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you come to work like, like sore, beat up. But also in this new CBA, I'm seeing that they're going to have limited how fast you can practice in pads. Not just you don't have to hit, but now the tempo, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Can you imagine coming to work and just like, well, today, boss, I have negotiated in where I can kind of basically chill and just go at my own pace.
Right.
So from that standpoint, I like the 7th game, get more people in. I don't like the fact that they're going to stand up for the money. But let's remember, they've been negotiating for months.
It's been
so it's going to be hard for right now the Players Association to come and say, hey, you know what, we want more money. So to me, this is going to be the best deal they can get. And I just think they're going to have to take this deal. They've got now they got an arbitrator in the position over the commissioner. So they got a few things back.
I guess my thought on the playoff part of this is the NFL playoffs are so much fun. They're so entertaining. Wild card weekend, maybe about the best weekend of them all. Division rounds, good stuff. It's it's the 8 best teams in football leading into the conference championship and the Super Bowl. Like, why would you make any change to something that's already this good, making this much money? You're not going to make less money by doing it. I guess you'll make more. But if you're giving me the number 2 seed playing the number 7 seed, that's going to be a blowout game a lot of times. Because honestly, a lot of these division round games end up being blowouts more often than not. By adding that extra playoff game, 2 seed versus 7 seed on wild card weekend, you're not getting a great game out of those every single time. Now, you may get the occasional upset, which will make it all worth it, I guess. But 2 seed versus 7 seed, Kansas City playing Pittsburgh, which I think would have been the AFC matchup this year. That's a 17-point win for the Chiefs.
Well, I hear you. And we all know that, it might water down a little bit.
Yeah.
But everything in the NFL is about money.
Yeah.
It's about marketing. The NFL is about visibility. But let me just say it like this. So you said you get let's just say you get a 2 versus 7. How about that 2 is the LA Rams? How about that 7's the New York Giants? Mm-hmm. Now you got one more city involved in it.
True.
So it raises the visibility. It brings in more money. It brings in another market. And what it does, it keeps the season more interesting for those teams that middle team that always gets cut out. So, but I understand what you're saying. But, most of the teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers, they wasn't no absolute scrubs.
No.
But did they deserve to get in? But to me, the NFL is all about the Benjamins.
Well, we'll keep watching it, see how all that plays out. We thank you for watching us here today. AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite. We'll be back again on Monday, Combine Talk, getting ready for the draft. And we'll see you Friday, a week from now, at the Atlanta International Auto Show at the Georgia World Congress Center. Come on by and see us. Go to GoAutoShow.com for your tickets. Or be back with us on Monday. We'll remind you more about how you can see us on Friday. Y'all enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday, 1 p.m., AJC Falcons News Now, sponsored by Miller Lite.